Thank you. Let's see who I miss. Morning, Chandra. If you get a chance, can you unmute so we can do a sound check for you?
Good morning.
Thank you. Fantastic. You sound good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Commissioner Pritchett, when you get a chance, can you unmute so we can do a sound check for you?
Good morning. I'm Carol, one of her aides. The commissioner will be right in.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. We can hear you. Let's see. Councilmember Young, I don't recall if I have done a sound check with you. Can you unmute so we can hear you?
Yes, we did the sound check.
Oh, we did. Thank you. Sorry, there's a lot of people coming in. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're good. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Councilman Bethea, can we do a sound check for you when you get a chance? You can unmute. Okay, while we're waiting, Nicole Mills, if you can unmute and do a sound check when you get a chance.
Yes, good morning. This is Nicole Mills.
Thank you. Good morning. Sound good.
Laura, while Nick is working with the chair, what we can do is we can have Commissioner Stone, who is the vice chair, to call the meeting to order, and then she can toss it over to me, and I'll do the front half, and maybe we can go ahead and do the orientation and then come back. We would have someone to do the pledge.
Okay. Let's see, Commissioner Stone.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Central Florida MPO Alliance virtual meeting. And I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Thank you.
You'll all join. Virginia, would you like us to go ahead with the pledge?
Yes, that would be great.
If you'll all join in finding a flag, if we don't have one to project on the screen, and we will, there we go, on the screen, if y'all will all join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And Virginia, I'll cast it back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Virginia, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. See, that was perfect timing.
Modern technology.
Commissioner, you are lagging a little bit there.
Okay.
So we are, Commissioner, we are at number 3, which would be
Again, for
so, Madam Chair, since he's still having technical difficulties, we'll go ahead and announce that today's meeting was advertised as required in the Florida Administrative Weekly, as well as through targeted emails. Florida Sunshine Laws typically requires that a quorum be present in a room for government meetings to take place. However, this meeting is being conducted as a virtual meeting as no action items are on the agenda. Therefore, a quorum is not required for action items. The opportunity for us to review the agenda would be up next. And so I want to, first of all, welcome all of our members, those returning, and the new members who are here with us, and all of those who are joining us online. Thank you for joining us for the Central Florida MPO Alliance meeting. Today's meeting is accessible to the public via computer, tablet, or phone. A recording of this meeting can be accessed later on the Metro Plan Orlando's YouTube channel. You'll find links to the YouTube and the meeting agenda in the chat box, which is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There will be no formal actions again during this virtual meeting, and this enables us, however, to ensure continuous cooperative and comprehensive transportation process that we continue with the work of the region. We have a few guidelines to share with you that hopefully will help things flow smoothly. We will be using the raise hand feature to recognize Alliance members and the staff who wish to speak, as well as to call on members of the public during the public comment period. If you've joined us on the phone only without video screen, please use *6 to mute and unmute your line, and *9 can be used to raise your virtual hand so the meeting host will see that you wish to speak. You'll see that there's a chat feature on your toolbar. This communicates with all panelists in this meeting, which includes Alliance members, staff, and presenters. So please only use this if you're having technical difficulties or if you need assistance. A full record of that chat comments will be included in the public record of this meeting. During the public comment period, the members of the public joining us today who want to speak will be able to also use raise hands feature that is found at the bottom of your screen. If attending by phone in listen mode only, you can hit the *9 to raise your hand and request to be recognized. When you're called on, your microphone will be temporarily unmuted by staff, and we'll ask that you state your name and contact information for the record. Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if you are able to hear or communicate again at this point, but I'm going to ask, with your permission, that Ms. Lisa Smith proceed with a roll call of the Alliance members and staff before we move to public comments.
Good morning, Alliance members and staff. Please go ahead and unmute yourselves now for the attendance. You can go on mute again after your name is called. Please make sure your video is on if possible, so we can confirm it's you. You will find the unmute and video buttons on the bottom left side of your toolbar on the bottom of your screen. Please say here or present when your name is called. Bethea?
Here.
Blake? Booth? Clark?
Here.
Loudman?
Here.
Estep?
Here.
Gertman? Minus? Moore? Christine?
Present.
Howard?
Here.
Richard?
Here?
Roebuck? Stone?
Here.
Tyler? And Young.
Here.
That concludes the roll call. Thank you.
Virginia, I see your lips, but it looks like you're on mute.
Unmute them to make public comment. And it does not look like there's any. thank you again for stepping in. I see that our chair is working feverishly to get connected and to be able to chair this meeting. But if with your permission, I'll go ahead and move right into a brief overview of the Central Florida Alliance. There are so many new members who are joining us today, and we wanted to just bring them up to speed as closely as we can to where some of our returning members are. So good morning, everyone, and to the new members, welcome to the Central Florida Mpo Alliance. My name is Virginia Whittington, and I'm the Director of Regional Partnerships with MetroPlan Orlando. In addition to my role at MetroPlan, I serve as the staff liaison to the Central Florida Mpo Alliance, along with your MPO/TPO directors. And I'm going to try real hard not to use acronyms. So if I stumble, it is because I am rolling those acronyms around in my head to bring out the name or the topic that I'm talking about. But I work along with your directors. And so this morning, I want to give you a very brief overview of the Alliance as an orientation. But first, if we could, I'd like to go around the virtual table and have the new members to just introduce yourselves. So this will be a little bit more interactive than me just talking to you. And so I'd like to do that by looking at the names around my virtual table and inviting you to speak. And I see Council Member Pritchard.
Ma'am, so nice to meet you. It's wonderful to get to be on this board, and I'm looking forward to hear all the wonderful things I knew nothing about before.
Great, thank you so much. Next, I see, let me see here, Councilwoman Gertman. You can unmute, please. Councilmember.
Good morning, everyone. I'm certainly glad to be here. I know there's some really important issues to deal with, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. So look forward to the efforts for our region.
Great, thank you so much. Commissioner Craig Estep.
Good morning, Craig Estep. I am brand new to the County Commission as of November of last year, and I look forward also to working with the Alliance and helping to get things along. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Clark.
Yes, good morning. I'm also newly elected, so I'm also excited to be a part of this and look forward to working with you guys.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Andrea Young.
Yes, I'm here. I was just
great.
So thank you very, very much. Yes, I'm looking forward to this meeting today. Thank you so much for inviting me, allowing me to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Councilman, is it Bethay?
You got it right.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you. And it is indeed a pleasure to be here. I'm fairly new on the city council in Ocala, Florida. And I love challenges. And I think that we have things ahead of us that we need to do. Thank you.
Well, you are at the right place. Challenges. And Councilwoman Christine Power. Councilwoman Power, are you?
Sorry. Yes. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. If there's anyone that I overlooked, because the pictures were moving around on the screen as people were turning off your camera. So if there's any other elected official that I did not call who has not had an orientation, if you don't mind just unmuting and introducing yourself, please. All right, well, I will move right into our orientation. And again, thank you for being here this morning. This morning, I'm going to just cover 3 areas. I'm going to cover our alliance partners, just to give you an overview of who they are, the operational structure, the way that we operate as a organization, and then talk about some of our projects and products. Lisa, next slide. So the Central Florida MPO Alliance, those that are in the blue box there, the 6 MPOs that are in Central Florida make up the Central Florida MPO Alliance. These are our partners who are engaged and working cooperatively by interlocal agreement. The 6 MPOs, your directors and your elected officials. We also work in partnership with the Florida Department of Transportation, Central Florida Expressway Authority, Sunrail, Bike Walk Central Florida, Florida Greenways and Trails, and then also our friends to the west, T-BARTA, which is connected with the one who connects us is the Polk TPO, or the Transportation Planning Organization, is kind of the belt buckle that brings the west coast of Florida and the east coast of Florida together. We meet with them annually or biannually now, in an opportunity for us to get together with them. Next slide. So the evolution of the Central Florida MPO Alliance, when I put this on the agenda, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. We have been at this for about 24 years. It is hard to believe, but this started with a regional initiative between the Metro Plan Orlando and what used to be the Volusia MPO. And we came together to solve a problem, Commissioner Bethay, that was mutual. And that problem was that there was a bottleneck of congestion when travelers and drivers were trying to get across that St. Johns River Bridge. And there was a project that was in the plans for that to be widened, but it was out in the out years of 2018, 2019. And we understood that if we worked together, put our collective voices together, sang from the same hymnal, we had more power in being together than we ever could alone. And we forged that alliance, which was the Orlando Volusia Alliance. And we worked together, and that project got advanced 6 years, and it was actually widened in 2012. And so that was the impetus of this alliance. From there, Metro Plan Orlando engaged in a cooperative agreement with the Brevard County MPO at the time in 1999. And then in 2000, the census came about that the Lake County government was eligible to form its own MPO because of the growth that was happening. And at that time, the then governor had stated that there would be no more single county MPOs in the state of Florida. And so there was a study that was done and an arrangement that was made and some cooperation. And we started taking up the idea of Lake County joining Metro Plan Orlando. And it ended up that Lake decided not to join Metro Plan Orlando, but that they had more in common with Sumter. And therefore the Lake Sumter MPO was born. But also out of that, we did not want to give up that opportunity to continue to work together. So Lake Sumter joined this cooperative agreement with Metro Plan Orlando. Now, of course, seeing all of these different alliances and agreements, we decided to put all of those together. And hence, in 2001, the Central Florida MPO Alliance was created with those those counties. In 2003, the Polk TPO joined us, and then in 2004, Ocala Marion joined us. And we also have, sticking up at the top there, Flagler County by virtue of Volusia and their work that they do with the entities in Flagler are also a part. So it is a 10-county alliance that you are a part of. Next slide. And before I get into the structure, some of the key factors to establishing the MPO Alliance was, if you'll recall the previous slide, was that some of the market realities are that we are growing and we continue to grow, and we are growing together, and that we have more in common than we do not in common. At the time we had, and we still do, have some very enthusiastic board members who are regional thinkers. They think regionally, they act regionally, and that is what makes this group so effective. Another thing that makes this group effective is that we have the active participation of the Florida Department of Transportation, both Districts 1 and District 5, and also the Florida Turnpike that serve as advisors, and they are here and they're actively engaged with us at each of our meetings, and you're going to hear from them in just a few moments. And then something else that helps this is that we have an excellent working relationship with among our staff members, among the directors and our staff. We share resources. We look for opportunities to have each of our MPOs actively involved in the development of those projects and products that you're going to hear about in just a moment. And then we built on those early successes of the having that project advanced by 6 years. That was another indicator that this was a good thing to do. And so also your interlocal agreement stipulates that this forum would be a forum for information exchange, but we don't always want to just come together to talk. So some of the other outcomes, that two of which you're going to hear about today, is that we coordinate regional plans and the policy development, and we do that along with FDOT. We identify regional transportation opportunities that are out there that is of regional significance. One of the operating guidelines that we operate by is that when you come together, much of what you will hear will not be pertaining to one county, but multiple counties. It has to be at least two or more of our partners in order for it to even be on your agenda. So you won't hear a presentation solely on Brevard. It has to be Brevard and Volusia, or Brevard, Volusia, and Metro Plan Orlando, so that we continue again to have that regional voice to solve those regional issues. So the structure that we work under is 18 voting members. They're all elected officials. So you are all elected officials. 3 are appointed from each of the respective MPOs. And we also ask that the MPOs also appoint some alternates. In case you are not able to attend, then we automatically default to your alternate. And so if that has not been done, if you will have your directors to make sure that you have someone to attend in your stead. The officers rotate on an annual basis from county to county. And I want to take a moment to say thank you to Commissioner Roy Tyler and Commissioner Michelle Stone, as in October we would have had officer elections were it not for us having to have these virtual meetings because of the pandemic. They are held over, and we are appreciative of them continuing to serve. But your bylaws dictate that at the last meeting of each calendar year, the members of the Alliance will elect from its members a chairperson and a vice chair and a secretary. And these 3 officers serve at least 1 year. And the current chair is Commissioner Roy Tyler. Commissioner Michelle Stone is your current vice chair. And there is right now a vacancy with the secretary, as the former elected official was a Metro Plan Orlando appointee, and she did not seek re-election. And so the Metro Plan Orlando board has made an appointment to the Central Florida MPO Alliance. However, that leadership role has not been filled because we are not able to take action on anything. We work again with your staff directors and FDOT and Turnpike participation. And the primary liaison responsibilities as of today are with Metro Plan Orlando. And because we are centrally located, we usually have our offices as the meeting location, which you would meet 3 to 4 times a year once we get back to face-to-face. That summer meeting, which is either in June or July, has previously been the joint meeting with our partners from the West, the TBARTA Chairs Coordinating Committee. We received notice earlier this year that they have made a recommendation that we go to a biannual meeting schedule. And so we will not meet with them this summer, but we will meet with them again next summer. Next slide. And then finally, some of our regional projects that this board has been instrumental in. The first is that this board was the catalyst for the How Shall We Grow effort. Many of you will remember that. It seems so long ago. How Shall We Grow was a regional visioning project that was an 18-month long campaign, engaged over 20,000 residents in Central Florida. And they had the primary focus and effort of designing and creating a shared vision for how Central Florida grows. And we still refer back to those. And there is an effort underway to determine and evaluate how did we grow. And so you're going to be hearing more about that as well in the near future. Sunrail is another project that has been a part of this board's activities, growing and taking that to the north, to Volusia, and eventually to the south, and even beyond Kissimmee into Polk County, is a reality at some point. Florida's Coast to Coast Trail, you're going to hear about that in just a moment. This board was very instrumental in getting the funding in place to close the gaps in that trail that goes from the East Coast to the West Coast of Florida. And I am determined that before I retire, we are going to have a Central Florida MPO Alliance bike trail tour of that entire stretch. So I'm determined we're going to do that. And then something else this board has done is to help to ensure the preservation of the rail envelope along the I-4 corridor. Just a couple of years ago, we restated that the support for that. And then we commissioned a regional transit study that was conducted in 2017. We're responsible for 3 products, one of which you're going to hear about today on the agenda. The first is the regional LRTP, or Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which takes all of our long-range plans and puts them together into one regional plan. Once those are adopted, they are synthesized, and we bring that back to you as a product. The prioritized project list, or list of priority projects, you're going to hear that word LOP today, and also the regional indicators report. And so the broad brush of what we do as an alliance, I heard someone say that they are always up for challenges, And my response was, you are in the right place for that. The region is large. We have much to do. And I believe that this board has the capacity to do it. You're also going to hear about one other presentation today, and that is on the regional TSMO, Transportation Systems Management and Operations, which is another opportunity for this board to essentially leave a legacy to go along with that bridge across I-4, the Coast to Coast Trail, and one other having to do with technology. So I am going to stop there and see if there are any questions that we can take through our chairwoman.
Do we have any questions from board or anyone else who's on the line joining us today? Ms. Whittington, responsibility is great. And again, we want to welcome our new members. We look forward to a face-to-face interaction with you at some point in the future. Until then, we certainly appreciate everybody's engagement on our Zoom meetings. If there are no further questions at this point, I will then take us into our delegation reports.
And Madam Chair, usually those are done just by calling. We're going to go to district reports with the DOT.
That will be, and the delegation reports are a part of our board package. So hopefully you've had a chance to look over and see what everyone has submitted so that you do know what's going on across the regions. And so at DOT, we'll start with District 1.
Yes, good morning. My name is Nicole Mills. I'm representing District 1. I'm the Intermodal Systems Development Administrator, sitting in for Secretary L.K. Nandum, who is in Collier County at the MPO down there in Naples. So just a few updates for everyone today. We have released our 2045 traffic model. We call it the D1 RPM. We have sent an email out to our MPOs. We are developing a mini training webinar or an update webinar just to alert everybody as to the changes and differences between the 2045 and the 2040 that was previously used. So that's good news. That was a big effort. We are also evaluating new model software for the model to use next go round. The choices are Visum by PTV or Transcat by Caliper. So in order to coordinate this, the state has contracts with both companies. In order to coordinate it, we are checking with all of our MPOs to see which software they would be using, as well as our sister districts that surround our borders, District 7 to our west and District 5 to our east, as well as the Turnpike. So we want to try to our best to, if we can align our softwares, that would be great, but it's not mandatory, but it sure does make projects that overlap the district lines, makes it a little bit easier. We are also busy planning for the stimulus money that may come in from the federal government from all phases of projects. It's not just construction, we're also planning for planning projects, PD&E projects, design projects. Our biggest list is our construction list. So we are very excited to see how much we might get from that and to see what improvements we can make for our communities. And then come July, we should be seeing additional buses from the from the Posner Center Park and Ride. They're on US 27 and I-4. We currently have an express bus that Citrus Connection runs that goes from the Posner Park and Ride over to the Poinciana Sunrail station. So we were able to get additional funding to help add headway on that. So instead of an hour, we're down to half an hour for that bus run, which is great because we know that the the Poinciana Station parking lot at Sunrail is very crowded, and until we're able to successfully transfer the Sunrail from DOT into the county ownership, we're not able to bring the line further into Polk County, but eventually we would like to see that line come in. So we're just preparing for it now. All right, and I think that is what I have for now. If there's any questions that I can answer for District 1.
Is there any questions from any of our board members?
I don't see any hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn my camera off because I'm having broadband issues.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. And next we'll go to District 5. Good morning.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Lorraine Bobo, and I'm the Director of Transportation Development for FDOT's District 5 in Central Florida. Appreciate being on here. I really do enjoy this meeting and this group of folks. So just wanted to share with everybody kind of our focuses here in District 5. Safety is our #1 focus on every project that we build. Obviously we look for safety projects, but we're really trying to dig in even deeper to really understand even the little things that we can do to improve the safety on our corridors. And the other big focus right now is collaborating with our communities. So first I'll speak to safety. We continue to strive for Vision Zero. Every project we do should have the right safety enhancements to accommodate all of our users on our roadway, especially our vulnerable users like pedestrians and bicyclists. Another effort we've been working on for this past year, which is definitely a safety effort, is Project Stride, or the dynamic envelopes that we've been installing at railroad crossings throughout the state. In District 5 alone, we have installed over 169 crossings in this past year. So keep in mind, this was a challenging year, but we were challenged. By the end of March, we needed to be 100% installations with dynamic envelopes at all of our crossings. In District 5, we achieved that, minus 3 that we're still working on the Brightline corridor, but those are going to be happening very soon. And just to give a little bit of perspective, District 5 has 28% of the crossings in the entire state of Florida. So it was a pretty significant effort. We put a team on it. They got them designed, got them installed, and we're noticing that the folks are stopping for those trains. I mean, it's a really big problem. The train's going to win every time, and so we're hopeful that we have made a difference in that arena. So we're pretty proud of that effort. I believe the commitment to the governor was by March of next year. So we've exceeded that expectation, which is pretty awesome. When we all work together, we can do great things. So I mentioned earlier that we're really focusing on our community outreach. We recognize that our state roads, our local roads, our roads are all going through communities, and a lot of times we focus on that throughput, but we really need to focus on the community in which our roadways lie. And so we've really been focusing on that effort and making sure that we are building the right projects. We've had several situations in the last 6 months even where we've been coordinating all along, but things have changed. Focus has changed on some aspects. And so we're making the right changes on projects even as we're about to let the project into construction, because it's the right thing to do. And we're making those changes because we're talking and we're collaborating and we're working with the community that we're in and making sure that we're all moving forward, together. So it's very encouraging to me that we're all here to do the same thing, right? And that's to make our transportation system safer, more efficient, and it's encouraging that we're moving in that direction, and I look forward to continuing to do that. So for those of you that have driven the I-4 corridor and you're downtown Orlando, whether you live there or not, you've probably driven it. I-4 Ultimate, we signed the contract in late 2014, been under construction since 2015, and we're slated to complete that project by the end of this year, by the end of 2021. So we met our milestone at the end of 2020 to open up all the general use lanes in their final configuration. They might still need some friction course here and there, but they're in their final configuration. And so now it's to finish those managed lanes down the center. And if you haven't driven it lately, it really drives pretty nicely, even though it's still somewhat under construction. So that was a pretty massive undertaking. Yes, it took a lot of years, but we completely reconstructed I-4 while we kept traffic on it. I'm personally about to go through a kitchen remodel, and it's disturbing my whole world, and how I'm gonna feed the family every night and do laundry because we're retiling and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's nothing compared to what we did with I-4 Ultimate. So it's pretty amazing. It's given me a couple headaches, but it's pretty awesome at the same time. So so with that, to echo what District 1 said, we are really excited about the opportunities of funding that are starting to present themselves. We're looking through our projects to make sure that we're ready, and hopefully we can move forward some pretty significant priority projects throughout all of our counties. And we too are looking at if we can move some of these construction projects along. Maybe they need some right of way, maybe they need to finish design, but if we can get those moving, what's coming strategically, what's next? What do we need to be doing PD&Es on? What do we need to be planning for? While there's this immediate effort, we're also continuing to look at that 5-year, 10-year to make sure that we're not behind. So I'm looking forward to those opportunities. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think sometimes we actually work better under that pressure and that excitement of what we're doing. So really looking forward to it. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Do we have any questions?
I don't see any hands yet, but let's just give it 1 second. See. Yes, we do have a question or a hand by Lois Bolenbeck.
Yes, Ms. Bolenbeck.
Thank you. It's not so much a question as it is just a comment. I can't tell you how happy it makes me hear when Lorene says we're all in this together, and we have to be mindful that what we're trying to do are build communities. And transportation is just one element of that overall community. And I know that might seem intuitive to somebody that is coming at this as an elected official or from some other part. But when we're in transportation, we tend to focus on our area of focus, and FDOT does a great job of building and delivering projects, but we can be very narrow in our focus sometimes, and it is important sometimes to step back and remind ourselves of what it is we're trying to accomplish. When we're focused on a project, especially a large project like I-4 or some other projects that they have to work on. But at the end of the day, Lorene is absolutely 100% correct. What we're trying to do is deliver something for a community to help that community achieve their vision. And again, I just really appreciate all the efforts that FDOT has made, certainly in the last month or I'm sorry, 6 months or a year, in trying to make greater efforts at communication. It is apparent in the work that we're doing, and I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that that is said for the crowd.
Thank you.
I think those are excellent comments, and I would say ditto what she said. great interaction, great partnerships. So thank you. Are there any additional that have been raised?
No other hands, but Ms. Bobo may have had a response.
I was just saying thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
No other hands,
Well,
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Two really great reports from our districts. And now we'll turn it to the Florida Turnpike Enterprise.
Good morning, Alliance members. My name is Siaosi Fine, and I'm the Turnpike's MPO liaison for Central and West Florida. So just a quick project update. Florida's Turnpike Enterprise is widening the Turnpike main line from State Road 50 in Claremont to the Mineola interchange in Lake County. The road will be widened from 4 to 8 lanes and will feature the replacement of crossing bridges and the construction of roundabouts at County Road 455. The project's public outreach activities include communicating with stakeholders such as local governments, HOAs, and citizens, providing media advisories and construction alerts, and placing advanced signage prior to temporary closure of crossing roadways. Construction letting began on March 23rd, 2021, with construction activities which are estimated to begin mid-July of 2021 and will continue through 2026. And with that, that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fine. Large undertaking there. Great big project. Do we have any hands raised for this particular portion of our meeting?
There are none, Madam Chair.
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Fine, for that. And that's going to just take us to our previous meeting minutes, which we will not be taking any action on, but I hope everyone has had an opportunity to look at those. And next, were there any questions or any comments that need to be addressed for those? That's the minutes of October the 10th, 2020.
No hands at this point, Madam Chair, but I would let everyone know that if there are any changes or corrections that need to be made, if you could just send those over to Lisa Smith. She'll make sure that those are corrected for when we are able to present those for final adoption at a time when we can come together.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That'll take us into our next item of presentations, which will be the Coast to Coast Trails, Sun Trails update. And our presenter is Ms. Robin Birdsong, who's the program manager for Sun Trail and Transportation Alternatives. Ms. Birdsong.
Good morning, everyone. Are you able to hear me okay, I think? Great. I am Robin Birdsong. I'm the manager of the statewide shared use non-motorized Sun Trail program here at the Florida Department of Transportation within the Systems Implementation Office. Sun Trail program was established by the legislature in 2015 to expand the statewide system of interconnected and high priority strategic paved multi-use trails. Virginia, I appreciate you inviting me to provide you with an update. Next slide, please. FDOT, I'll try to be good about my acronyms too. After I say them the first time, I will probably use the abbreviation, but FDOT is committed to developing transportation solutions. We strive to improve travel choices that ensure mobility, improve public safety, and the public's general welfare by reducing traffic crashes that result in serious and fatal injuries. As Lorraine said, to especially our vulnerable road users like pedestrians and bicyclists. Like investments in the motorized programs, continued investment in the non-motorized programs helps achieve the vital few strategic initiatives. Our partners help us accomplish shared goals for planning and managing Florida's transportation system. Next slide. We leverage our expertise with our stakeholders for this shared vision and purpose. Funding for the Sunrail program is from an annual reallocation of the new vehicle tag revenues deposited into the State Transportation Trust Fund for developing the Sunrail network. Other funding sources also implement trails in and beyond the Sunrail network. The Sunrail Program Guidance Handbook, which is available on the website, which is www.floridasuntrail.com, or you can navigate to the same site through FDOT Systems Implementation Office. The handbook details our efforts for implementing the program. Today, the Sunrail network is a combination of existing, planned, and conceptual multi-use trails. It is a refined version of the Florida Greenways and Trail System Plan's priority trail network. The Greenways and Trail System Plan is coordinated by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Guided by Chapter 260 of Florida statute, the DEP Office of Greenways and Trails provides leadership and ongoing assistance for achieving the vision for establishing, expanding, and promoting the system plan. That includes the network maps. They update the network maps in coordination with the stakeholders and partners every 3 to 5 years and anticipate an update around 2023. Next slide. We use a two-tier funding structure to implement Sunrail funding. For those of you that are entrenched in the DOT work program, the Sunrail funding code is TLWR, and I'll talk more about the work program in just a minute. But for the tiered funding structure, both tiers provide funding to segments that meet program eligibility requirements and connect the trails. In both tiers, it is desirable and strategic to protect prior investments. The Sunrail selection criteria on the website and in the handbook provides more information about this. One tier focuses on individual trail segments in the network, and the other tier provides funding to projects within the top 2 regional trail systems that were identified by the Florida Greenways and Trails Council, and that group is established by Chapter 260 Florida statute, it's a 21-member council, and they advise DEP. Next slide. This map and others in the presentation are available on the website. This one reflects the Sumter realignment approved by the Florida Greenways and Trails Council in August of 2020. It illustrates an at-a-glance view of existing segments within the developing coast-to-coast trail, which when complete will be about 250 miles. As of late March, about 190 miles of the trails within the regional system are existing. Those segments are illustrated in green, and many are unique destination trails extending beyond the regional trail system. The yellow dot next to the photo indicates these trails. The dotted purple segments are in various phases of development. They total approximately 60 miles, and now I will tell you more about those program project phases. Next slide. This detailed map links to the many program project phases of which FDOT is involved and are included in the current or past adopted work program, all of our funding sources. I'll start in the west and move east. Beginning in District 7, construction of 2 segments are underway. One is the Good Neighbor Trail Connector, extending from west of Suncoast Parkway to the State Road 50 or Cortez Boulevard. The other is the trail being constructed with the State Road 50 roadway project. Design and right-of-way phases are underway for the Good Neighbor Trail Gap, which extends from west of State Road 50 to the existing Good Neighbor Trail in Brooksville. Construction of the trail and bridge crossing of State Road 50 is programmed with Sunrail funds in fiscal year 22. The other trail segments in D7 are programmed for construction with the roadway projects. In District 5, Design is underway for the segment to Webster along State Road 471 from State Road 50 to County Road 478. Although not funded by the Sunrail program, construction is programmed in fiscal year 23. Continuing east, we have multiple projects that will deliver the trail with the roadway improvements. In July, I started sharing that we're working on the right-of-way acquisition phase for the South Lake Trail Phase 4 project, connecting Van Fleet State Trail to Villa City Road. We do not have willing sellers and are planning to provide connectivity with the State Road 50 roadway projects. The South Lake Trail from State Road 33 to Silver Eagle Road is just over 2 miles, and that one's in the right-of-way phase, and that's programmed through fiscal year 24. Construction is also programmed in fiscal year 24. The 3.5-mile Orange County Gap segment extends from North Hiawassee Road to north of State Road 414, and we're currently redesigning this project to avoid right-of-way impacts. The tentative work program includes construction with Sunrail funds in fiscal year 2026. Construction of Volusia County's final coast-to-coast trail gap, as you can tell, I'm really excited about this one, along the Showcase East Central Regional Rail Trail will be complete this spring. It is Florida's longest single acquisition project, and that was done through the Department of Environmental Protection many years ago, and all of the partners have been working on this trail for a very long time, so I'm thrilled that the Sunrail program could be part of that partnership. It's one of the few design build projects funded by the Sunrail program, and that began in 2018. Last but not least, we get to Brevard's County Space Coast Trail, extending over 10 miles from Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge entrance to the parking lot at Playa Linda Beach. We've added additional environmental mitigation funds because of the sensitivity of the land. A portion of this segment will be 8 feet wide because of all the sensitivity in that area. Construction is beyond the tentative work program development cycle. Next slide. This is an example of the details linked in the map that I just showed you from a project we're administering. You can read the details about funding amounts, years, and phases. You can also sign up to receive email alerts about the projects. For project phases delivered by our partners as reimbursement grants, the map links to program project phases in our work program. From there, you can learn detailed funding amounts, phases, and the year programmed. Next slide. The developing St. Johns River to Sea Loop is about 260 miles. As of late March, about 120 miles are existing. These are illustrated in green. Next slide. Like the coast-to-coast connecting the gaps detailed map, there are links to the program project phases of which FDOT is involved and is included in the current or past adopted work program, all of our funding sources. Several construction projects are underway. These include the Spring to Spring to Leon Springs segment. That one's almost complete. The East Central Regional Rail Trail, which will be complete later this spring. And some sections of the Daytona Beaches Sweetheart Trail, they're complete, and the others will wrap up this spring. This fall, the northernmost portion of the US 17 Trail in Putnam County should be complete. That one's being constructed with the roadway project. The other segments are in various phases of development, and construction has not been programmed. Next slide. In compliance with Section 339.135 Florida statutes, FDOT maintains a 5-year adopted work program that includes a tentative list of all financially feasible transportation project phases that will be funded and carried out during the next 5 years. Projects and phases are identified and schedules are developed based on priorities and allocations of funds. The work program details and commits our funding sources for the included projects. Among other things, the work program documents production and construction of the projects. During the annual cycle, known as the development of the tentative work program, projects in the outer years are considered for advancement or deferral. A new fifth year is added, and the first year drops off as projects are completed. The past Sunrail adopted work programs are all posted to the website. Next slide. The first year of the adopted work program authorizes us to expend funds to complete the activities and projects. The adopted work program provides clear direction on when, where, and how FDOT will build and fund projects. By statute, if it's not in the adopted work program, we cannot do the project. And July 1 begins the state fiscal year, and that's when adoption of the work program occurs. Next slide. We have a planning level assessment of traffic control at unsignalized on and off system roads and the at-grade trail intersections or crossings. Overall, it is modeled on the Metro Plan Orlando's 2016 trail crossing traffic control in Orange and Seminole counties. Previous presentations, like the one that we shared in March last spring at the Coast to Coast Leadership Team meeting hosted by the TBARDA Metro Plan or Central Florida Regional Planning Council, are on the Sunrail website. Our assessment covers about 90 miles of existing segments in Pinellas, Pasco, and Hernando counties. There are 260 at-grade trail and roadway crossings in the study area. 230 of those are at-grade and unsignalized. Those are the ones we're evaluating. The at-grade crossings are in both urban and rural areas. They're in federal roads, state roads, local roads, and driveways. The driveways may be major, like to a shopping center or other large development, or the driveways may be minor, such as to a single-family home or for maintenance access. The coast-to-coast trail crossing assessment, traffic control assessment, includes field evaluation of site distances and consideration of control delay for users, particularly the cyclist, with a need to balance site conditions for the user's needs at each crossing. It will consider each crossing from two perspectives. First, appropriate priority assignment of right-of-way, and second, appropriate level of traffic control. This assessment will propose recommendations for future actions based upon engineering and field verification. Then we will know what can be done to improve everyone's safety. We soon will be starting part 2 in District 5 for the eastern portion of connected segments along the coast to coast. Next slide. Field collection for part 1 is complete and the analysis is underway. The assessment will be complete by the end of February 2022. Next slide. If you haven't already done so, I encourage you to self-serve to receive notifications that are of interest to you. You may also be interested in announcements from DEP. In addition to myself, next slide. In addition to myself, there's at least one trail coordinator in each of our 7 districts and the Turnpike enterprise. They are the primary points of contact for projects in the respective areas, and they assist with planning and evaluating projects. Next slide. I do appreciate you inviting me today. Establishing and maintaining partnerships are at the very foundation of the Sunrail program and the department's success. Through our collaborative efforts of many partners, we leverage collective strengths. FDOT is dedicated to building a safe, and efficient multimodal transportation infrastructure that will fit the diverse needs of its growing population for decades to come. People now, as much as ever, need agile mobility options. By enhancing the infrastructure and increasing the reliability of all modes of Florida's transportation system, projects within the Sunrail network have the ability to reduce incidents with vulnerable road users, enhance safety, and improve mobility. And now I'll take questions if anyone has questions.
Thank you for the detailed report, Ms. Birdsong. It's quite exciting to hear all that is planned for the state of Florida, as well as for those of us who live here who can enjoy, and those coming. Here's another reason why Florida is the place to be. I'll open it to the board for any questions, and perhaps even our chair may be back to take the helm.
Hand by Commissioner Moore, and I know that the chair was here. I'm not sure if I don't think he's connected still.
Okay, so
Commissioner Moore.
Yes, thank you so much. This is very exciting for me in Orange County because I am home in my single member district to one of these large gaps. And so I think perhaps I have a multitude of questions. I'll just set up an appointment to go over. I wasn't aware that the completion date was moved back to 2026. And so I have some questions with that. But in a more global questions, I wanted to know about wayfinding signs because I know on the West Orange Trail, we don't have any signage that says coast to coast trail or sun trail. And I'm not sure where, second question would be residents, cyclists, pedestrians, other than going to the website, how can they find maps or aids on these trails? And of course, I probably shouldn't ask a third question, but is there a way for us to piggyback? We have some really neat things coming in Orange County that we would like to partner that are just, off these trail spurs and those sorts of things. So how can we work with you to have all of that publicized through either wayfinding trails, maps, or whatever aids you have?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Moore. And I would welcome an opportunity to talk directly with you and others, anybody that wants to contact me, and we can schedule time with myself and the appropriate district person so that we can use time effectively. Sunrail TLWR funding doesn't fund the wayfinding plans, but DOT does have other funding sources that are appropriate and have been used for the wayfinding plans. That includes funding like the transportation alternatives, which is federal allocation that comes to the department and then is administered at the district level. It's competitive. Like all of our funding sources, it's prioritized by the MPOs. And it's a great question now. And most recently, Volusia County and the river to sea, thanks to involvement with the river to the sea TPO, they did prioritize and have installed wayfinding plans for their portion of the coast to coast and connectivity outside of the coast to coast, because it's about connecting people in places. Not everything's on the main line, so to speak. It's how you get from place to place. And so with that project that they did, they provide information and connective and helping people get to places like Stetson or to some of the local parks beyond the coast to coast system. The way that all of those locations for the signage have to be structured, engineered. It's not as easy as just putting a sign into the world. A lot of consideration goes into place, but like I said, the River to Sea TPO in Volusia County, Tim Bailey is the director of their parks and trails there. they've really done a good job at providing that information. The way they design them, it has the Sunrail logo, the Coast to Coast logo. Portions have the St. Johns River to the Sea Loop logo. The county logos, they have the opportunity to promote their scenic byways, and then other resources. And the way they did their maps, as more segments come online, it's my understanding that those can be replaced and updated so that they can keep the information very current. And then you asked about, you had another question.
Well, it was related in terms of the mapping. So, there'd be a lot of people prefer this to be digital. I mean, I get them on a bike with their phone following the map, but then they prefer, a in-place piece of paper. So I was what you had in place, or if that's back up to the locals, because I could, my wayfinding signs at all.
Okay, so I'm going to use Volusia as another example, and they launched an app for their wayfinding of their trails and other resources. And honestly, I'm not sure that funding source. It might have been through their ECHO funds, their local tax referendum, that they, through the partnerships, that they're most familiar with their resources and where people are going from place to place and want to be in their area, that it is an app. From my understanding, the app, they have the similar information on their website. So if people don't want to install an extra app on their phone, they can still obtain the information from the website and then bring it into the format that the user is most comfortable with.
All right, that's very helpful. So I guess I'm going to investigate River to Sea. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chairman, we did have a hand by Mike Wood, but he seems to have lowered it. I recall the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council and the Central Florida Regional Planning Council working on a consistent and comprehensive wayfinding plan for the Coast to Coast Trail. I have lost track of that, so I don't know where they are, but what we can do is bring that back for one of our agendas in the future, so that we can get an update on that.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Ms. Whittington. So no additional hands up?
No, there are no additional hands.
Well, again, thank you, Ms. Birdsong, for the exceptional report. And again, a lot of exciting things happening for the state of Florida as it results to Suntrails. Next, we've got.
I'm gonna add a link that's maintained by the regional RPCs for the Coast to Coast Trail, and the wayfinding plan and the other reports that have been done are posted there. To my knowledge, the comprehensive wayfinding plan hasn't been funded, but some of the communities are implementing their own portions of it. In even Hillsborough County, they're much a little tiny segment of coast to coast, but the most of their trail system is beyond that coast to coast regional system. So they're working through their process. But I am including a link, and thank you all for having me today.
Wonderful. Thank you for that link as well. That's going to take us to the next item on our presentations, which is an overview of the process for adoption of the regional list of priority projects list presented by Ms. Georgiana Galette, who is the Executive Director for the Space Coast TPO.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. It is good to be with you today to talk about the update to the regional list of project priorities. All right. As you know, next slide, please. As you know, MPOs around the state develop a list of transportation project priorities for their respective planning areas on an annual basis. And these priorities are sometimes separated into different categories based on the types of projects or the funding type that support these priorities. Once these projects are adopted, they are forwarded over to the DOT for their use in programming state and federal funding to our respective areas. My predecessor used to say it's where the planning meets the money. And I always love that line because, quite frankly, it is one of the most important things we do as an MPO. Here in Central Florida, MPOs work through the Central Florida MPO Alliance to collectively develop regional transportation priorities that also assist the DOT District 5 in programming projects that are considered regional in nature. So through this unified approach, we can leverage increased transportation resources for the region that connect populations and attractions by working as an alliance with the Florida Department of Transportation. So this activity is really guided by a process through the alliance, including the categories that we choose for the priority list. And those categories are listed on the right-hand side of the screen. The first category is the strategic intermodal system. Those are the high priority projects of regional and statewide significance. We have our regional trails, which Robin did an excellent job of that overview. They're generally the Sunrail system, but there are other trails included that are considered regional in nature. We also have regional transit projects, and those are typically rail and bus rapid transit projects. You know, we want to further recommendations from the regional transit study that the Alliance conducted a few years ago. And then we have Transportation Regional Incentive Program, or TRIP. This category was added a couple of years ago. And TRIP was created to improve regionally significant facilities. These are state funds that are available at 50% to provide incentives for local governments and the private sector to help pay for projects that improve regional travel and commerce. So we decided that this particular category really needed to be folded into our annual update so that the list that we provide the Florida DOT is current. And then the last one is Transportation System Management and Operations, or TSMO. This is still a work in progress. You know, we all have our own independent intelligent transportation master plans. There's also the Central Florida TSMO consortium meetings between FDOT and local and regional partners where they collaborate on ongoing efforts for Central Florida. And then the DOT District 5 is doing a tremendous amount of work regionally. And then Eric will also be giving us an update on the regional TSMO program update. So there is just so much going on here in Central Florida regarding TSM&O. So we're trying to flesh that out and understand what a regional priority list would really look like. Or do we really need a regional priority list? I'm not really sure I know the answer to that yet. Next slide. So this is the proposed timeline, and I will admit it's a little aggressive. Currently, we're in the early stages of the process review. Over the next couple of months, we will be developing our draft lists. And in the June-July timeframe, depending on each MPO's schedule and meeting dates, we'll adopt a draft list. And then the Alliance will adopt the final list in July. I would say at least that's our goal. And this will really align with the adoption of our independent lists that we provide the DOT. Again, this is a goal, and we will, work together through each MPO to see if we can make this schedule. Last slide, please. So as we review and develop our regional lists, there's a few things that we do need to keep in mind. We have all adopted brand new long-range transportation plans, And, this is really important for setting our priorities, specifically on the strategic intermodal system. The DOT is now restarting the SIS cost feasible plan update at the state level. And so, we need to consider this because it's possible what happens on the state level may impact our specific lists. Some things may change. We may be required to make an amendment to our long-range transportation plan, and that might affect our priorities. Funding also continues to be limited. We know the situation with our gas taxes, the market penetration of electric vehicles. And because of this, some of us have had deletions and deferrals this past work program cycle on some of our regional projects. So that needs to be considered in the updates as well. And as the district plans for stimulus funding, our lists, we need to be very clear as we update our lists, and they should be, updated as much as possible so the DOT can have the right information for any stimulus funding that comes our way. So there is a link in the chat box for the adopted regional priority list, and this list was adopted last year. And we will just work through this process over the next 2 to 3 months. If you have any specific questions related to these projects, you may want to contact your MPO staff on projects for your area. And that's really all I have for you today. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gillette. Ms. Whittington, do we have any questions?
I don't see any hands. So no questions.
Right, thank you. And again, Ms. Gillette, it is a lot to comprehend. I know we have some new board members, and I highly encourage you to work with your Mpo director to help you as you navigate and become proficient on this board as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is going to be the Regional Transportation Systems Management and Operations Program Update. And Mr. Eric Hill, who is the Director of Transportation Systems Management and Operations, Metro Plan Orlando. Mr. Hill, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and good morning, Alliance members. This is an update on our Regional Transportation Systems Management and Operations Program since the update to you in October. Before I get to the update, let me define Transportation Systems Management and Operations for many of the new members. And for the returning champions, just please indulge me for a moment. So TSMO is the use of technology in transportation. On the software side of it, it's information and communication technologies. On the hardware side, it's sensors, it's devices, it's our cell phones, it's our vehicles that we operate. 60% of the congestion that we incur or experience is caused by non-recurring incidents. These include weather, events, as well as traffic signal retiming. So here's an opportunity for us to use technology in transportation to address the congestion that we experience most of the time. In terms of the Regional TSMO program, let me just cover 4 things for you. First, the framework that we've developed, how we have put meat on the bones, and how we are bringing this to life, and then opportunities for us to sustain this program. So since my last update to you, the directors, the Mpo directors that include Hillsborough County, Pinellas Forward, Pasco County Mpo, Polk County TPO, Sarasota Manatee Mpo, of course, Metro Plan Orlando, River to Sea TPO, and then Space Coast Mpo. This represents Central Florida, the mega region of Central Florida, and is an opportunity for us to bridge all our efforts across Central Florida to advance TSMO planning. The framework begins with an appropriate title. Since we started this discussion, we've referred to this as a coalition, a consortium, I-4 coalition, but we've agreed to just refer to it as the Regional TSMO Program. For me, it rolls off my tongue very easily. It allows me to give an elevator speech. The next item is a Memorandum of Understanding that we've all agreed to. And many of you have heard presentations from your directors on this MOU. This is an agreement for our staff to work together to share information to advance the program. We've also concluded on goals and objectives to move it forward, if you will. Now, to bring it to life, we've established a working group made up of staff of each of the MPOs and TPOs. This working group met on Tuesday, March the 9th. We agreed to the goals and objectives that we've established, but we also featured a presentation from the National Operations Centers of Excellence. This is a lobbying group in Washington, D.C. that advances TSMO practices. So we have met with the directors. We've established a working group. The working group is bringing this to life. The next meeting of the working group is Tuesday, April 13th. We'll have a featured presentation from Tom Bamonte, who represents the North Central Texas Council of Governments, an automated vehicle program. Next phase is sustainability. Some of the things that we've been doing to continue this effort. Metro Plan Orlando developed and presented or submitted a application to the State Transportation Innovative Council, STIC grant, for $100,000, and we were awarded the $100,000. We've also partnered on an application with the Center for Urban Transportation Research for $100,000 to the National Institute on Congestion Reduction. And this is to bring the academic arm into the work that we will be doing. And then more recently, we partnered with the Center for Urban Transportation Research on a Department of Energy grant to evaluate the impacts of proposed technologies that will enable automated driving systems on mobility, safety, and energy. As part of this grant, we anticipate the Center for Urban Transportation Research using planning models for each of the MPOs to evaluate these benefits. So, Madam Chairman, this is where we are. I've covered the framework, how we put meat on the bones, how we're bringing it to life, and how we plan to make this sustainable. And just to conclude, early in this meeting, Virginia spoke about the evolution of the Alliance, starting with the remake of the St. Johns River Bridge, the trail network across Central Florida, and then the rail initiatives. And as part of the legacy of this Alliance, I would like to also ask you to consider how we move the Alliance into the 21st century in transportation using TSMO strategies and innovations in technology and transportation. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. You certainly are very concise and succinct. It's a whole lot of information boiled down. So thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Do we have any hands at Ms. Whittington?
No, there aren't any hands. No.
Okay. Well, board members, again, if you do wish to ask any questions, any comments, we do ask that you use the raise hand feature and you will certainly be recognized. Let me get back to our agenda and see. I think we've got one more update at this point in time, and that is going to come from Ms. Whittington, the update from the 2021 legislative session thus far.
Well, thank you again, Madam Chairwoman. And just to let everyone know, our chairman was having significant technical difficulties. He had a yeoman's try to get on and to get connected, and he apologizes for having to leave because he was just not hearing, nor was he able to speak. So he also wants to extend a very hearty thank you Madam Chairwoman, for stepping in and keeping the meeting moving. In the interest of time and in respect for your schedules, I'm going to give a very brief overview of a couple of items of interest. There was a lot of frenzied discussion at the beginning and just before legislative session started surrounding Senate Bill 62, which would have abolished the regional planning councils in the state of Florida. It drew a lot of attention early on. There were a lot of opposition to it. And at this point, I kind of hate to speak this into the atmosphere, but the reports are that it seems to be dead at this point. So at least for this legislative session, that is no longer an issue to be concerned with. Another one that in our development of the agenda that came up from Executive Director Rob Balmas, he stated that we should probably give an update on Senate Bill 100, which is entitled Highways Projects. It sought to repeal the provisions related to the applications for funding for technical assistance related to areas in and around proposed multi-use corridors. And so highways projects is code for MCORs that you all are probably familiar with. This bill was seeking to repeal the MCORs. The Senate bill has passed. However, the House companion, House Bill 763, I think is, yes, House Bill 763 has not been heard by any of its committees. And so it is likely that this bill will not pass. However, I heard from a very good source on yesterday that the current Senate president is not in favor of this, and it is likely that the work may slow down. This was on some scuttlebutt that was being passed along. So, but it looks like this bill, the Senate Bill 100, has passed. House Bill 763 was not sent to committees, so it has not passed. Another item that drew a lot of attention last year is a bill that was proposed that would require the rapid flashing beacons to be changed from yellow lights to red lights or removed. Senate Bill 1412 is entitled Traffic and Pedestrian Safety. It is cited as the Sofia Nelson Pedestrian Safety Act. This bill requires traffic engineering studies to be conducted, which recommends installation of a specific pedestrian crosswalk before the installation occurs. Now this, in terminology and what was known last year when this bill was proposed, this was called the Mid-Block Crossing Bill. And so Senate Bill 1412 was heard this week in its second committee of reference. I understand that there was quite a bit of opposition from the members who were concerned with negative fiscal impacts of the bill. And that, of course, DOT also has some concerns that it is expressing. It still needs to be heard in appropriations before it can be considered by the full Senate. The House companion, House Bill 1113, is in its last committee of reference, that is Commerce. And they will be meeting, I believe, next week on the 14th, and we'll know more next week. Our team, who is in Tallahassee, People Smith and Matthews, are working with the Florida Association of Counties and the Florida League of Cities on some amendments to try and improve, or at least to get the date pushed out, because it seems as though this bill may have some legs this year. We will continue to watch it. And then lastly, there was some interest in some language being amended in legislative law that would allow for virtual meetings to continue under during times of declared emergencies. And there is just no appetite for that this year. I just heard yesterday, and so it's not going to even be talked about. And so I know that a lot of people are on Zoom fatigue. I don't want another Zoom link. I don't want another GoToMeeting. But I tell you, the public has really rallied around these meetings. And so if for no other reason than to continue to have some form of access for the public virtually would probably go a long way for us. And so that is a really quick update just on those 3 items. And if any of the directors or DOT has anything to add, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Whittington. Do we have any director or members who wish to comment on this?
I don't see any hands.
Very good. Well, again, I thank you for that report. As quickly as you could give it, there's a lot of eyes that need to continue to watch what's moving forward on all of our behalf. So thank you. I'll ask now if there is any member, any board member, alliance member who wishes to speak at this moment. This is for member comments. If you'd like to raise your hand, we will certainly recognize you.
I am scanning. I don't see, there aren't any hands at this point.
Well, again, thank you for your engagement this morning. I think we too may have Zoom fatigue ourselves, and so it's with anticipation that we may get to be together at our next meeting, July the 9th. But that location will be announced beforehand. And again, thank you for joining us today. And I wish you all a very pleasant rest of your day and weekend. And thank you to our great staff and directors. Great job.
Thank you again, Commissioner, for taking the helm. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye. This meeting is adjourned.